So last weekend I hung the radiator. I've got it taken off right now so that I can start running these copper coolant tubes through the back of the bed, through the back of the cab, through the cab on the floor, the passenger side, and out the front somehow so I can get coolant to and from the radiator and the transmission. I'm going to start out today by destroying this truck bed and destroying the back of the cab. And then I'll run some coolant tubes from the radiator into the bottom of the passenger side, and then I think I'll ruin the front of the cab and run some coolant tubes from the front of the engine to the inside of the cab. And then once that's done, I'll put all the system together and I'll fill it with some water. So I think I have everything I need today except for hose clamps, but I can add those later. I'm holding off on that because I'm not sure exactly which ones I want to buy. If I buy T-bolt style clamps, and because I need like almost 30 of them, that could be like $80 to $100 in just hose clamps. I'm not sure I want to do that. So maybe I should just look for a really good worm gear clamp and use that instead. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I probably won't buy those until next month. Is it recording? It was recording. I've been recording the whole time. I bought this little product from Rig-Rite, and what it is a 3-inch grommet, and you basically self-tapper that. I'm hoping that this is going to be sufficient enough to make a hole, screw this to the outside of the hole, and push my coolant tubes through. And that'll keep out at least bugs out of the cab. You can kind of see what I'm talking about, how this tube would go through the grommet, and the little rubber fingers will kind of just hold it in the middle. And like doing the job of a grommet. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I'll drill 2 holes on the back of the cab. On the front of the cab, I'll do something a little different. Stay tuned, because I'll show that later. I bought this from Harbor Freight. This is one of their nicer hole saw kits. And I want to make sure that I cut a hole that's large enough so that the tube can slide through and not touch any metal, but also small enough to where I could use these holes to self-tapper this thing to the back of the bed. So if I used that one, I would be really close to these holes, and I'd have to get it really accurate. This one is a 2 1/8, which I could use that if I get this grommet right in the middle of it. Which may be tricky, because this is not that much bigger than the tube. Whereas this one will work and give me a lot more space around here, because if this grommet ever sags, down in one direction, then the metal will be able to touch the side of the tube and rub holes in it. It's dirty in there. So I think it'll be a lot easier to use my biggest one and just put the grommet right over the middle and pre-drill some holes and fasten this over the hole that I drill. So looks like a good drill bit. I'm going to need to drill through 4 pieces of sheet metal. There's 4 holes. We've got the back of the bed to drill through and the back of the cab to drill through. Okay. I'll lay down in here. So I got all my cage and stuff in the way. Now, I'd like to make a hole as low as possible, please. 2 right next to each other, so probably 1 right here and 1 right here, and spaced apart a little bit so that when it goes down at an opposite angle on the cab, it'll have enough room to do all the things. So it's also got to be high enough so that I can screw this on down low. Oh yeah, broke that drill bit right off. Good job. Okay, that's not good. Alright, there's one down. That's probably hot, huh? Let me get a pair of pliers, pull it out of there. That'll do nicely. I could work with that. With any luck, the truck bed is close enough to the back of the cab. There we go. That's perfect. There's another hole. Use the hole as a guide to drill the next one. Okay, we have 2 holes now. So these grommets here, I'm just using to keep debris out of the cab. And so these 2 are going to go on the inside of the cab to make it look all nice. And then on the outside, I'm just going to use some edge seal. And of course, I'm just talking about this stuff right here, edge trim. And because it's pretty flexible, and you can put it in whatever edge you kind of want. So that's just what I'm going to do. Now this is a good product to keep your fingers from leaking, but also it can keep your coolant hose from leaking as well. Just like that for the other side. Alright, now I'm going to stick a tube in here and tell me what you think of this, because I think this is pretty good. I think it'll keep my tubes from rubbing. Now that we've got this protective stuff on the back, I'm going to go ahead and take these grommets and screw them to here, right in the middle, so that when I push these copper tubes through, it'll even more so help hold these tubes from contacting the metal part right here. Oh, that's perfect. Holds it right in the middle, just like I wanted it. If it seems like I keep going back to like construction equipment to work on this Jeep, it's because I am, and that's because I've done quite a bit of construction. I don't see anything wrong with using this kind of stuff to get the job done. Put this radiator back in, start making some tubes, connect this radiator. Okay, now you're not going to be able to see this very well. It's kind of dark down here, and I suppose I could get a light. But now it's time to basically start measuring how long these tubes need to be. This one needs to be approximately about all these silicone elbows for this project. And I don't know if I'll have enough, but basically an elbow on that side, which is 1 3/4 to 1.5 inch elbow, and these are 1.5 inch to 1.5 inch. 1.5 inch is the size tubing that we're working with. So I want to make sure I know which is the suction line, because that's going to determine how long that hose is, because this side is either going to go in one of these holes or another. So let me look at that really quick. This one is going to go in the hole closest to it. So I'm basically setting this elbow right here in line with where it's going to go through the back of the cap. And then I want to measure 14 inches, 13 inches, a 13-inch length of copper tube to go between these 2 elbows. If you're using a lot of it, you can spend a couple $100, and that's about what I spent on this project. Is the 5-foot length tube was $45. I bought 4 tubes, so in total it cost me about $180. You definitely want to deburr the inside of this, and I didn't bring my deburring tool, but I'll just take a piece of sandpaper and kind of clean out the inside a little bit. I'll blow these tubes out so all the dust and dirt is out of them, and then I'll show you how I'm going to make that end on there so I can put a coolant elbow on it. The reason that you want to get rid of all the burrs on the inside of this is not so that you don't cut your fingers open or anything, although that's a good idea, but really, if you've ever done any copper tubing for in your house for your sink or your tub or something like that, the burrs will actually cause turbulence in the fluid, in the water, or in this case the coolant going through it. And as the water swirls around in there, it'll deteriorate and pit the inside of these tubes, eventually rotting out the tube from the inside out, and then you'll end up with holes in your copper. And we don't want that, so better safe to be sorry. I'll just clean up all these inside edges. Nice and clean. So I've shown this tool before. This is my little miniature bead roller, and I bought it specifically for doing coolant hoses. And you've probably seen this, you know, on TikTok or on another YouTube channel or something like that. I thought I'd put it on here just because I think it's going to be fun to do. Well, if you haven't seen these before, a bead roller is a tool that you use to roll a bead onto some metal. I just got to do that like 14 more times. There we go, first one done. That's better. Nice and clean. Pretty excited. Now we can get our first tube set up. It's gonna get far enough. I think a little WD-40 might help. Soapy water is the best thing I can come up with. Oh, that's much better. If I was to put a 45 here and a 45 here, that is just about perfect. But I don't know if I have a lot of 45s. I'm thinking we can do a 90 and a 90, and we cheat a little bit with this because they have a little bit of flex. That might get us to where we want to go. What about a 45 and a 90 would work probably better. Let's do that. So a 45 here and then a 90 here. That'll be good. Okay. An 8-inch piece to go between this one and that one, and then we could run tubes from here into the cab, and that'll be phase 1 complete. Let's make an 8-inch piece. Mist going on here. There we go. Spray the end of that. Just like that. Okay. Put that on there. Perfect. So we got our 2 tubes going toward the holes. Now we got to do some maths because we want it to stick out the other side. So we're going to take a measurement here. 10 inches. 18 inches. 10 and 18. And then I kind of want it to stick out the other side 2 inches. So we'll go 12 and 20. 2 more pieces. 12 inches, 20 inches. I could probably do this one and then put it on the radiator last, since I have something to push against. It's so slippery now. I underestimated how difficult this is gonna be. It's on. All right, get in there. All right. Perfection. All right. 2 coolant tubes. This one needs to be secured in place so that this isn't floppy. This one is probably all right. So there's how she's looking so far. You got coolant hoses, coolant tubes going through the back of the bed. Goes through to the back of the cab, and then they both come through the back of the cab. So this would be phase one of this project. I'm not going to do any tubes in the inside until I get tubes run from the engine through the firewall, and so that's what we're going to work on next. Alright, so here we have the regular truck style water pump, and the outlet for this happens to be a 1.25 inches. So what I have here is an elbow, my only elbow that goes from 1.5 inches to 1.25 inches, and I stepped it up to 1.5 inches so that I could use all the same size tubes. So I'll go ahead and stick that one on here for now. Coolant will come out of here, and this will end up going on the outside and through down here somewhere. And then I have just a 1-to-1 elbow because the inlet is 1.5 inches. So this one will have to go facing up. Now I have to figure out what exactly my plan is here, because I know I want the coolant tubes to come in through here under the intake on the inside, and then I'll have to plate the bottom off. I just want there to be enough room in order to get this exactly how it's supposed to be. This box comes all the way, my intake comes all the way down to here, so we have no choice but to cut into this or go in down here by the coolant tubes. There really isn't any room down there. You can see now how we have an opening, plenty big enough for all these tubes to come through. Now I need to just address the hole that is now going straight down to the ground. That's all open to the cab. I need to plate this somehow. On the bottom, we'll have to put edge guard on all of this corners here, and then later we can go in and put some insulation and stuff around the inside so that we keep the heat from going through the hole into the cab itself. So now it's starting to get exciting because we can go ahead and make these tubes and have them run all the way into the cab. That's going to be quite the fabrication project to do, and so right now I kind of want to go over in my head and out loud for you guys the theory that I have about airlocking your water pump. Now, because my coolant tubes are going to go down to the floor and then back up and then down again when it gets to the engine, there's going to be a spot above this fender right here where air is going to naturally want to sit because it's rising to the top and it can't go down the tube and back up. Because you have air right here, the water pump wants to suck water. It doesn't like to pump air because technically it's not a pump at all. It's just a fan, sort of like a turbine, that moves water. And unless you feed it water, it won't actually move any fluid unless there's pressure coming here. So there's two ways to solve this issue. One, you could put an electric pump in the bed and help to move water forward. So that will actually pressurize the lower line to this water pump. And two, you could actually just make sure that there won't be any air by adding a fill neck, much like this one. So this is a 1.5 inch fill neck that you can put in line for if you're doing like a custom radiator up front. So I bought this and I'm thinking about putting this somewhere about right here. And when I go fill up my coolant system, I can fill it from here first so that I know that there's no air in the highest point of this line before it heads back down to the floorboard of this truck. Also, I can, also if I ever think that there's air trapped in this because this coolant system is leaking, I can fix the leak and then open this cap until water rushes out and then close it back up, and that will also bring the air out of the system as well. So that's going to be up here somewhere at the highest point of the intake line. And then for the coolant exhaust line, we don't really care. It can have as much air in it as it wants. In fact, the air that's in the engine is going to have the vent tubes go into the exhaust line, and eventually they'll make it their way back there. But at least we won't have any issues with the pump not working because all it has is air to breathe. Right there. Okay, right there. And this. This isn't looking half bad. The chunk of wood. That's gonna sit about right there. These is gonna sit about right there. Just stick them at the same height. I think that looks good. Okay, so I've got these hoses going from the water pump hole that we made through there. The hoses right here are gonna be a lot easier to connect once the hoses on the inside are done. Well, this is going to be quite interesting because these have to 45 down one way and then down another way, and then come across the bottom of the floor underneath the seat. So the seat is going to mount on either side of these tubes. So this is going to have to angle in this direction first and then come up toward the middle with a slight angle. This is going to be quite tricky. I may have to trim a couple of these off so that they fit closer to the wall. That way I can put these that way back here. Yeah, this can be very tricky. Let me get 2 of these trimmed up. A little curious. I want to make sure this seat is going to fit. And it appears that this is going to be in the perfect spot to just escape the bottom of there. Oh, that's going to be perfect. What was I even worried about? I'm so accidentally good at this. Let's go 35 plus 4, 39 inches. So the only thing left to do is to connect these 2 points right here. Okay. 26, 28, 30, 32. Yeah, 32 hose clamps. 32 hose clamps. 2 winches, hose clamps, for 2 inches. Is that the same as this one? Close enough. 30. I don't have hose clamps yet, but now I know what I need to order. I kind of want to take a 1-gallon jug and my hose and see how many gallons the radiator and the tubes have in them. Now I could get this thing almost all the way full if I open up this and I fill it here first, and then once this is full, I could take this hose off of there and fill this line. Look at this most adorable little funnel. Thought I had some. Guess I need to stock up on some funnels. But at least this will help me get an accurate reading. Kind of looks like milk because it's in a milk jug. I washed it out. Alright, that's 1 gallon of water. Okay, 1 gallon in. Now, this is actually about halfway up the radiator, because the top of the radiator is about this tall. I just realized that. And so, which means the bottom of the radiator is 21 inches down from this. So by the time I get this filled up, that should fill up half the radiator. See, I already have a leak right here. I need to get some hose clamps. Oh, it stopped. Hose wasn't on straight. See if I have a hose clamp. I got these really big ones. Ah, look at that. Well, these should work. I just came inside from ordering all the T-bolt style hose clamps that I need. This one was a little looser because it's, honestly, I think until the coolant system gets hot and builds pressure, these elbows were so hard to put on. They'd probably hold at least, 20 to 40 psi. All right, I'll keep going. We'll count how many gallons. Oh boy, look at that. Okay. So that's either this tall in the radiator. With the water level, that was 1.75 gallons. Let's pour water into it. Yeah. Okay. Put that one back on. Woo! Haha! It's coming out the heater hose. Alright, I have a little horseshoe hose to put in there. So if you don't want a heater, you can get one of these little U-shaped hoses. It goes from a 1/2 inch to a 5/8 size. And that'll block off your heater hoses so that your coolant can still circulate through here. I heard that if you just cap those off, then you'll run into some problems with your water pump. I don't know if that's a myth or not, but I just picked this up to have on there until I can get a heater put on. Oh, yep, that's full. Alright, that hose is definitely full. That tube is full, that tube is full, all the way back to the radiator. This is gallon number 3. So I'll pour the rest of that in there. Oh, there is a mathematical way to figure out how much fluid will go in this system with all these tubes, using the volume of a cylinder and then measuring the length of the tubes. But I really don't want to do any math right now, so I'm not going to do that. That was 4 gallons. That was 4 gallons exactly, and the water's all the way to the top of this. So I don't think we did too bad. 4 gallons for the radiator and the tubes. I know they're full. I hear leaking up there. I accidentally got this right once again, because on a Chevy Silverado, the radiator takes about 4 gallons of coolant to fill it up. And that's if you don't drain any of the coolant out of the engine. You just drain the coolant on the bottom of the radiator or pop a hose, and you put it back on and you fill the radiator back up. It's about 4 gallons. So still a lot of work to do, but I'm pretty happy with that. I got to get some clamps to secure the tubes in place and I'll get the hose clamps in the mail probably tomorrow or the next day, and I'll put all those on. And then this engine will be ready to run for a long period of time so I can work out all the vacuum issues that I was having earlier. I'm super excited about this because once this is done, I can move on to the front axle or the exhaust system or really whatever I want. I didn't know that if I was going to be able to get this done the way that I wanted, and it worked out perfectly. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that YouTube can give you my videos every weekend. I really liked the way that this coolant system turned out, even though it's 100% not perfect. But I like it.